Imagine walking home late at night and a stranger pulls over, offering you a ride. You hesitate but eventually step into the car, thinking you'll be safe. Minutes later, you're fighting for your life. This was the terrifying reality for Anitra Washington in 1988, one of the only known survivors of the man who would later be revealed as the Grim Sleeper. Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s was a city drowning in chaos. Crime rates were high, neighborhoods felt unsafe, and during that time, a man named Lonnie Franklin Jr. emerged. To the public, he seemed like just another face in the crowd. But behind the scenes, he was on a killing spree that spanned more than 25 years. Between 1985 and 1988, a string of brutal murders began surfacing in Los Angeles. Victims were mostly vulnerable women, and although the killings were horrifyingly consistent, nobody knew how many people Lonnie had truly murdered. The reality? We may never know. But in 1988, his cycle of violence almost came to an end because of one woman who survived. That woman was Anitra Washington. One night, Anitra was walking home when Lonnie drove by and offered her a ride. At first, it seemed harmless, but instead of taking her home, he claimed he needed to stop by his uncle's house. Anitra recalled him leaving her in the car for several minutes. When he returned, something about him had changed. He seemed agitated, angry. Then, after mistakenly calling her by another woman's name, the atmosphere turned chillingly quiet. Moments later, Anitra realized she had been shot, confused, bleeding, and fading in and out of consciousness. She pleaded with Lonnie to take her to a hospital. Instead, he ignored her. According to Anitra, she looked him in the eyes and warned, "If I die, I'm going to haunt you." But Lonnie wasn't finished. While she drifted in and out, he assaulted her and even took photographs. Eventually, he pushed her out of his car and drove off, leaving her for dead. Miraculously, Anitra survived. She staggered to a friend's house, who called 911 and got her to the hospital. Her detailed description of Lonnie and his car gave police valuable information. But disturbingly, instead of being caught, Lonnie simply vanished from the spotlight. For more than a decade, the case grew cold. Fast forward to the early 2000s, technology had advanced, and police began re-examining old evidence using DNA testing. What they found was shocking. Many of the unsolved murders from the 1980s were connected, and the DNA matched crime scenes as recent as 2002 and 2003. This meant Lonnie wasn't just a killer from the past, he was still actively murdering. In 2010, investigators tried something new: familial DNA testing. The results pointed to Lonnie's son, and from there, straight back to Lonnie Franklin Jr. himself. When police finally arrested Lonnie, they discovered his horrifying collection of photographs. Hundreds of women, many of whom have still never been identified. In 2016, Lonnie was convicted of 10 counts of murder. During the penalty phase, prosecutors tied him to at least 15 more victims, bringing the total to around 25 murders, but many believe the true number is far higher. Lonnie Franklin Jr. was sentenced to death, but in 2020, he was found dead in his prison cell at the age of 67. Anitra Washington's survival wasn't just miraculous. It was critical in eventually exposing the Grim Sleeper. Without her story, Lonnie might have continued his killing spree unchecked. Cases like this remind us how long some predators can hide in plain sight and how much courage it takes for survivors to come forward. Stay safe out there, and remember, evil often hides where you least expect it. But let me ask you, do you think there are still grim sleepers out there today hiding in plain sight?